Fight Club revealed the truth about anxiety 28 years ago. Not the whole movie, just this one line.
After fighting, everything else in your life got the volume turned down.
What are you getting yourself into every week?
What? You could deal with anything.
Have you finished those reports?
After fighting, everything in life got the volume turned down. The volume isn't exactly the sound of things, but it's to the degree which everything else can shake you. Shake your calm, shake your worldview, or sometimes even shake your vision. And you can choose to think about this whichever way you like. Some people call it having an unshakable resolve, or being a stone cold motherfucker. But it boils down to the same feeling of calmness that skips the anxiety. Edward Norton from Fight Club felt this way from having to fist fight dudes every night. If you need to fend for yourself every night, all other stimulus in life are comparably easy to deal with. But fighting doesn't have to be actual fighting. It just means that there is something really difficult that you have to deal with outside the normalities of life. When there is a deeper struggle that you have to face, either voluntarily or involuntarily, the smaller things in life don't seem to affect you as much. And this is what a lot of people miss. When a struggle is chosen for you through circumstance like studying for exams or training for a competition, the volume of other things in life naturally comes down. Hence why some people naturally seem more calm and collected. But when life is going good and you have no other struggles that you have to put all your energy towards, even the smallest things seem to tick you off. This Reddit post summarizes my point really well. My marriage has been bad for about 15 months now. I spent hours crying on the floor. I found that after dealing with what I dealt with and after going through what I went through, no other problem compares. After fighting, everything else in your life got the volume turned down. You could deal with anything, and that's how it feels. I get stuck in traffic and my passenger will say, "Oh, this sucks, I can't stand traffic." And I said to myself, hey, it's not being cheated on with 6 guys, I'm good. Go to the grocery store and they don't have your favorite chips. At least it's not being cheated on with 6 guys. It's really that simple. Being rejected when asking that girl for her number isn't going to be anywhere near as painful as being rejected by my soon-to-be ex. Getting mad at the traffic doesn't actually have an emotional reason, it has a neurological one. You are crashing out in traffic, but if a primate was in your place, he would be chilling. Why do you think that is? The amygdala has always been the region in your brain that detects threats, and it sends signal to the prefrontal cortex that initiates activity to help you get away from the threat. Essentially, its job is to look for any potential threats in the sensory information, and it does this faster, way faster than conscious thought. By the time you realize you're scared, the amygdala has already been active for a few milliseconds. Evolutionarily, the threats were always along the lines of a predator, rival tribes, exposure to the elements, or starvation. If you were to compare these threats to the threats that we have to face now, you'd sound like a pussy. Naturally, these threats are also unpredictable. So in that environment, the baseline stress levels of the primate were actually high. It couldn't let the brain relax too much for too long because it would never know what would happen next. When the primate was out in the bush, it would always be on edge. And that's because in that environment, it had to. It was always alert and ready for action. But here's the caveat. While already having a high baseline, the primate had an even higher threshold for a full stress response. If this primate had to sit in traffic for 2 hours, it would not faze him because the stress from traffic is here, the baseline is here, and the threshold to actually create a fully stressed response is all the way here. He's chilling, no problem. But what happens when real threat disappears? The baseline drops. You no longer need to be on edge all the time because there are no more predators to run away from. But now, the gap between your baseline and a full threat response becomes even tiny. Even though you are generally more relaxed, the smallest amounts of nuisance can easily trigger you. Something like sitting in traffic. It doesn't take much to cross that gap, and before you know it, you've unleashed a full threat response for no reason. But this isn't even the whole problem. Now, the important thing to understand is that the amygdala is a binary system. It either fires or it doesn't. There is no proportionality, so it doesn't match the stress response according to the situation. It just fires or it doesn't. When the primate sees a predator, the amygdala fires a cascade response that releases cortisol and adrenaline into your bloodstream. Your heart rate goes up and blood rushes to large muscles to help you run away from the predator. The prefrontal cortex activity also gets suppressed because your body needs to think quick and not carefully. The predator is already here. This is why some people that are having a stress response genuinely seem stupid because their prefrontal cortex is turned off. So your brain helps you run away from the predator, you made it out alive, and you go back to normal levels, right? No. Remember the cortisol and adrenaline spike that initiated the stress response? Well, the cortisol is actually very slow to clear out, so it sticks around for a little bit. Ideally, you would run away from the predator, survive the encounter, and have time to cool down. But what happens when another stress response comes back before the cortisol is cleared out? This is called allostatic load. It's a compounding effect where chronic cortisol adds this low-grade stress and raises the baseline just by a little. This constant low-grade stress essentially decreases the gap between the baseline and the threshold for a stress response. The system becomes easier to trigger when the stress comes next time. Going back to Fight Club, fighting someone bare knuckles will not only increase your baseline. If your body gets used to activating the stress response from fist fights, it won't ever see traffic in the same light again. So the easy answer to reduce anxiety is to give yourself a reason to feel anxious. Your body will be too busy thinking about the real threat and ignore all other things. I realized this by doing jiu-jitsu. When I was rolling with a partner or competing in a tournament, the stress from the anticipation from actual jiu-jitsu would be so comparably high to something like giving a presentation or even a flat tire. It would all just seem so trivial compared to getting your neck strangled or having your arm snapped into. If you don't want another man's crotch in your face, you can try mountain biking, woodwork, or even playing the guitar, as long as it's something that has some sort of stress levels attached to it. Because if you don't voluntarily add stresses to your life, your brain will do that for you. That's because this is what it was designed to do, to look out for potential threats, and you don't want that.